everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of The Rope of Hope. Tonight, I am joined by Kellina Powell, and she's going to be sharing her personal story. But before we get into that, if you guys are moved by these stories, if you want to see me continue being able to do what I do that I love doing, then please consider supporting what I'm doing. Go over to buymeacoffee.com/ this fat girl life. Membership is $5 a month, cheaper than Starbucks. And with that, you're going to get access to information before anybody else. And you get my guided journals at no cost, my gift to you. So again, that's buymeacoffee.com/ this fat girl life. Kellina, thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
And super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we jump in, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Definitely. So, I'm a young entrepreneur. I am so many things. So, I'm an advocate. I'm upcoming book author, and I'm a mental health coach and an international speaker. I help people how to be inclusive for the deaf community, and I help people as well with the personal growth stuff with anxiety.
Perfect. So you are going to be sharing your story, and you had kind of touched on it just a little bit there of you help people with the deaf community because you are deaf.
Yes, that's correct.
So why don't you kind of go into, how that was diagnosed and what it was like growing up not able to hear in a hearing world?
So, I became deaf at the age of 4. So it all started due to one day I went to the daycare with an ear drop and the daycare infection. That same day I went home, I became deaf. I was in front of the TV and I was listening to the TV and they were just yelling, yelling, yelling. And then the funny thing is, my mom.
Oh, it looks like we froze up. Are you still there?
Can you hear me now?
Now I can, yes. I can hear you. We don't have any movement on your screen, but I do hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. And yeah, so my mom literally called me and I literally jumped and then I couldn't hear my mom at all. And I when I realized I was like, something's wrong. My mom said, what? And then she thought I was joking because they're typical 4 years old, playing around goofy. And my grandma, thank goodness my grandma was a nurse at the time. My grandma literally rushed home from hospital to sit down with me and talk to me to figure out what was going on. And so when my grandma did like a testing with me, and my grandma said, "Okay, Kellina's not choking. We need to go to the doctor." So right there, we called a family doctor, and he said, "There's nothing we can do. Kellina's completely deaf." Just from that one day, I became deaf.
Hmm.
Yes.
So do they know what it was about that ear infection that caused this issue, or was it just a random thing?
It was honestly because the daycare didn't find the direction of the eardrop. Because my doctor prescribed me like a really strong eardrop for my ear infection.
Okay. So you weren't being given the medication, and as a result.
Yes.
Okay. So at that point, you've gone through daycare. You're 4 years old. They're getting ready to send you into general public school. How did that look?
So luckily I went to two different schools, so school and a hearing school, so able to help me balance my communication because that was the number one thing for being deaf, right? Communication is the big issue we have. So my family doctor said to my mom, like, wanted two doctors, two schools to help clean up the community. So the deaf school definitely helped me a lot about building my confidence, advocacy for myself. But unfortunately, when I went to the hearing school, I was bullied a lot of time. No one knew how to interact with me. Even teachers didn't know how to interact with me. Like it was really bad. I had a teacher like you don't know how to be acceptable for people who have a disability, which is and unfortunately, I wasn't able to be myself with the hand community than I was with the deaf school. So I felt like my personality was totally different with two different communities, which is weird. And unfortunately, my mom pulled me out of the deaf school and said, um, we have to put you full time in the hand school because it's too far. So I obviously, applied because, being bullied. Now I'm going to full time, going to hand school, bullied full time. Okay, it was not something I was not looking for into. And, thankfully, I would have fun. They helped me to bully the bully back, and I was able to learn how to, kind of a little bit bully back, but at the same time, know how to speak up for myself. If it wasn't for my friends, they would have, I wouldn't be here right now, honestly. So I actually learned a lot through in school because it was too much for me, but I still have to pick up whatever I have to do to get myself out there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't use sign language.
No, I do not.
So, can I ask how you communicated with teachers or other students? Do you read lips or how does
So
that work?
that's a good question. So I used to do sign language when I was at the deaf school, but because my family doesn't know how to do sign language, they really wanted me to literally be vocal with what I need, especially when I get older, and especially knowing that everybody is speaking, so I have to learn how to speak. So the way how I communicate with the teacher was reading lips, face to face, always looking at me, and they were using like a microphone for the classroom to make sure that they could, so that it was loud. So that way, when I'm ever moving the class, they were able to, I was able to hear from far distance. So that's how we would communicate with them a lot of time. But I didn't learn sign language at all in the hearing school.
Okay. Now, I know just working, with like general public, that type of thing. One of the ways that, I've communicated with somebody who is hearing impaired is through like a text to speak feature on my phone. Do you use features like that now?
It times really depend on the situation. Everybody's different. But for me, I really normal. I don't have any like specific needs for that stuff.
Okay. So what has been the hardest part of living in a hearing society when you're hearing impaired?
So the hand society is difficult because not everybody is willing to accommodate you. So that's why I find it very challenging. There's some people that's willing to help me, but they were not consistent, I would say. They were helping that, but then some days they don't. So it's like, what are you doing? So, so that would be my difficult and challenge in the hearing society is that even if I put stuff out there, it's kind of hard because you don't want to bug them, right? And you don't want them to work double just to help you. And I feel bad because it's like, no, it's not their responsibility, but at the same time, how are you supposed to communicate? And with the deaf community, there's so many ways to communicate. There's sign language, there's reading lips, it's like the environment when you're in the deaf community versus the hearing community.
That seems like it would be like overwhelming with so many different ways to communicate, like you're being bombarded with it.
Yeah, it is.
So, what is what is the best thing for you that has come from your journey?
The best thing that ever happened was when one of my professors is deaf. And I was in math class, and randomly my professor took out his hair and he's like, 1 second, my hair is dying. He literally changed his hair battery in front of the whole class. And that was the best thing because I didn't know he was deaf at all. I didn't. And it was just a really sweet conversation I had with him after class. And I said, how do you do that? Like in front of lecture. And he said it takes time, just like you said. it takes time, but you have to keep pushing. You never know who's looking for you and who needs you. Just like the way you need me to help you. And I was like, oh my God. And that was something I really need to hear.
So now I know you work as an advocate as well. What are your goals with advocacy?
So my goal
What
for
what would you like to see happen?
so it's really allow social media and technology to be more accessible. My goal is to really create my own app or platform to really get both the community to get together on one instead of against each other. And definitely, I do want to make it more accessible, especially on like in Hollywood industry. Really teach people like, hey, you should have everything diversity, inclusive for everybody has a whole one particular community, right? So that's definitely my goal is to really globally and really teach people.
Well, and I love that you kind of touched on movies because myself, I'm an advocacy for body awareness, for body acceptance. And so I know what that representation or lack thereof looks like. But like I'm sitting here in my mind thinking, how much representation is there for the deaf community? I mean, does representation even exist as far as popular movies, that type of thing? Do you see that a lot? Because I mean, I can name a couple actresses that I know of that are deaf, but maybe that's something that I've never noticed before. So, is there a lack of representation you feel there?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. I feel like if you notice, have you ever read an author? Like, have you read a book by an author? No. The reputation right there. I'm willing to be the first author that people ever read about. I'm willing to do that because I have a book coming out, and that's why I choose to write a book. And there's only like 3 movies or 3 that it showed depth reputation. So there is a lot. There should be more.
I definitely agree. I think that is very important to have, some sort of representation. Now, when is your book being released?
So my book is going to be released on May 1st.
So that's coming up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and what is it called?
It's called Everyday I Drift.
Okay. And will it be available on Amazon and all of that?
Yes, definitely.
So when that gets released, I want to know about it so that we can help you with that, right?
Yes. Yes.
We are going to push that everywhere.
Yes. I would love to help.
Definitely going to do that for you. So when you work with clients, are all of your clients deaf, or do you have a variety there?
I have a lot of variety there. So I do have a bit of client does stuff, and then I have parents that have stuff. So I do work with different varieties of everybody.
And what I know, you work in the mental health realm, mental coach. What are your goals there specifically?
And my goal is to really to teach people that don't feel like your mental health is an issue to allow you to be successful. And my goal is to really to take it globally and tell people like, hey, you can do it. Doesn't mean whatever you have doesn't mean that you getting stuff out there. Like for me, like if people don't know that I do have an anxiety. I talk to someone who's hearing sometimes because I'm nervous because I don't know what to expect. So I do want people to know that it's okay to be not okay. And I do want to kick that off with globally and teach people that it's okay. If I can do it, you can do it.
And I love that saying that you just used of it's okay to be not okay. Because I think, people are able to resonate with it, but so often, especially as women, we feel like, we have to be okay all the time. And I know men deal with that on their own as well. They have to be that big, strong man. And so I think really pushing that message of it's okay if you're struggling is important.
Exactly.
So What is your one piece of advice for somebody who is struggling?
One piece of advice I would say is do not allow one bad day affect the next day. I feel like always let that one day affect tomorrow. Do not let that one day affect tomorrow because you never know what tomorrow's gonna bring you, and you never know when that time for you to go home.
That is very good. That's really good. And I've never thought about that. I have been I was 46 days old when I learned that, or 46 years old. 46 days. Yeah, I'm only 46 days old today. I
That's
was today
okay.
years old.
Thank
Well,
you.
Kalina, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on my show and share your story with everybody. And
Thank
my
you.
husband is actually watching this and is kind of loving the fact that I said I was 46 days old. Well, I do have one final question for you, and I ask this of every person who's on my show. What is the most inspirational thing that has ever been said to you?
My grandma. Never let one person talk negative about you because of your disability. Don't allow your disabilities to prevent you from being successful.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
me too. And she passed away 2 years ago, and I still have it to this
Oh,
day.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on here, for sharing your story with everybody. I cannot wait for your book to come out. I will definitely be purchasing a copy of it. And I'd love to have you back on once the book is released and let's talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely honored to come. I'm excited, even though I'm not. Yeah.
Let's plan on it.
That.
Well, you guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you next time on The Rope of Hope.